Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live, where you will find us airing our views here on Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you leave a comment, and make sure it's a good one. Okay, that's all you're allowed to do. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on smart TVs 2016 forward. Now joining me, nope, it's not Aaron. It's Eduardo. Hey, Eduardo, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Frank. Thanks for having me in the show.
I want to strangle Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg. I want to strangle him. I want to strangle him. We do our communication on this show. We have messenger groups that Eduardo has, and because I do so many shows for Eduardo, we have various messenger groups, and in those messenger groups are the links. Today, I wanted to use the link, and I couldn't open the messenger group because I have another group because of the political stuff we're doing, and I couldn't change to my Facebook, my regular Facebook Messenger, which means I couldn't log in. I couldn't send Eduardo the information we were going to talk about right now. So if Eduardo doesn't sound 100% ready for what we're going to talk about, have mercy on him and blame me. Anyway, so essentially, the first topic is Facebook. It sucks. Prove to me otherwise.
Well, Frank, no, you know what? A lot of people are complaining about the new metaverse platform that Facebook has put together as a result of the wonderful lawsuit that they have been facing. But you know, it's a trial and error. It took Facebook a long time when it first started to get together. This is We are going through the rebirth of Facebook again. So metaverse is here. Different changes. There have been multiple issues that I've had in the past with currently. So but we adjust, and that's what technology is all about: trial and error.
Well, I don't mind the trial and error. It's the error and error that bothers me. I just think there's too many errors that it should be a little better. See, I was so unprepared to do the show that I even had my microphone in the wrong spot. Yeah, so for me, for those of us that deal with Facebook, the whole reason why Facebook is sort of changing so much, even the name, he changed it to Meta. It's all about the problems they've been having with the American government, the U.S. government that has, they've stomped down on Twitter, Facebook, and other, other internet companies because, quite frankly, they're blaming companies for doing what they're allowed to do. And the reason they're allowed to do what they're allowed to do is because the government has not done a good job of framing these companies to make sure that they work within a certain confine. I understand about free speech, but on the roads, we have the freedom to drive wherever we want to drive, but we have to drive in a way that we don't have massive accidents everywhere, if you know what I'm saying, Eduardo. So I know you're in the business, so and I'm not. I'm looking from the outside. You're looking from the inside. So from the outside, I say they just haven't been steering in the right direction. There's nothing wrong with having stoplights. There's nothing wrong with having white lines for people to drive down. This is what the internet has to do. They have to work in a way that is safe. They can't create unsafe conditions, and that's why now the government, asleep at the wheel as they were, didn't do anything when they should have. And now that there's a major accident, they're acting as if they're doing something. I'm really not sure they're doing anything. Do you think it's reasonable to expect that it's relatable, that, the way internet works is the same way our roads work, and the same way every facet of our life has some sort of regulation?
The problem, Frank, is that, and let's go back to Mr. Al Gore, because it was him that
Yeah,
put
he invented it. Yeah. Uh-huh.
he created everything. So,
If you ask him, yeah.
but the problem was that the government went into a new dimension when the internet came around, and all these companies came booming in the 80s and early 90s. uh, you know, they there weren't regulations there, and that's what happened. Really, when you don't know how to guide a new platform, a new way of life, and people are just testing the waters. Companies like Facebook had freedom of they were giving everyone freedom of speech on the online, and now with all these wonderful new censoring boards that are around, that you shouldn't say this, you shouldn't say that, this is this is this is not correct, you have to be politically correct in everything. uh, the government started putting regulations and saying, you cannot do this, Facebook. You have to do this because it's against the antitrust law. And you have to do this, Microsoft, because you are monopolizing and you're not allowing, giving everyone the same advantage. So what happens is now all these companies, they say, okay, so, okay, we are going to give you what you guys want, Mr. Government, but these are the changes to the platform are going to cause a commotion amongst the users, and there is nothing you can do about it. I mean,
Yeah.
I have been in technology for so long, Frank, that for too long, and I am not even understanding the metaverse world now and what they are doing with Facebook.
Well, the problem in my mind is the worst president in my lifetime, the absolute worst president of my lifetime, was one of the most admired presidents in America. His name was Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan's the guy that economically, he destroyed the country economically. His plan that sounded so good did nothing but destroy the economy. Trickle down theory is only a way of saying, let's let the rich be rich. And if they're generous enough to let some money fall out of their pockets, we'll let everybody else have some. That's one. The other one is that he eliminated the fairness doctrine. What the fairness doctrine said was that no one program could not, no program, no news service, nothing could say anything and have the only say. They had to give someone with an opposing view not as much time, but some time to rebut what was said on that program. Because of that, Eduardo, because of that, what's happened with the media, and Facebook's just an extension of the media. You know, it's just an extension of it. What happened with the media is it became linear. In other words, one group of people could put on a program and say whatever the heck they wanted, unchecked, unguarded, and who cares about the truth? That's all on Ronald Reagan. All of it on Ronald Reagan, because the fairness doctrine said you can't lie, because if you do, somebody has a right to call you on it while you're lying. The problem today is people lie, misrepresent the truth, and the newspaper, let's say, does it inadvertently or unintentionally, or a TV station does it inadvertently or unintentionally, and then they can put it towards the end of the program along with the credits on TV, and the newspapers can put it on page 34.
Yeah, I mean, the in this day and age, the media is not the media anymore. It's whoever has access to to free speech on different platforms that have the right, and journalists that we are trying to cover the stories correctly, we get lost in along the with the bunch. And
Great.
it's very hard to be transparent, and that's why we have companies out there. Particularly right now, there is a company that just came out that what they are doing is they are searching through the metaverse, the new platform, the new way of looking at the internet, for the truth amongst the stories, to see who published the correct story and who didn't, and who's saying the wrong things. And that's what's happening. There is competition now to find the truth.
The truth is so hard to find. Fox has been downgraded. There's, I forget what the name of the organization is that basically judges, rates different news organizations and gives them a plus or a medium or a minus rating, right? I think I'm not sure if they made it to a minus rating, Fox, but they made it. They're not. In other words, they're not truthful. This organization is saying they've given it, and it's a well-respected think tank that works from both sides, Republican and Democrat. So it's not a unilateral decision. It is groupthink, if you will, and they're saying that Fox isn't fair, isn't truthful. They tell so many lies that they can't be considered to be telling the truth. Now, there's a lot of people out there who don't like the enemies of Fox, which I sound like right now, and they basically want to believe what they're going to believe, Eduardo. And that's the problem, is that now we're in a situation where people only want to listen to the people that are saying what they want to hear, which is part of what the internet created.
For sure. But Frank, let's go on to the real news that we have.
Okay.
I think we have exhausted the topic of Fox and the bad news and metaverse.
What do you want to go next? Okay, we'll go. There's a lot of stories today where we have the Canadian Medical Association has put as their leader the first Indigenous leader at the helm. Indigenous people are getting more attention, more respect, and it's happening quickly. Today, there were no less than 4 stories that involve Indigenous people becoming part of the mainstream in Canada. We'll go further. A new justice by Trudeau was put in, is Indigenous. I have all 4 here. Ottawa announces, let's see. Her name is Michelle O'Bonsworth. We can talk about her. Ottawa announces $2.8 million support for air services in remote Nunavut communities. And then the Medical Association that I said. And another issue is Nazem Kadri, who was discriminated against and attacked racially during the Stanley Cup, which he eventually won, and he's bringing back to London, Ontario. So let's talk about the Indigenous people and the struggles that they've had over the years. These kind of steps that are happening, how would you describe them?
So let's talk about first the Canadian Medical Association, because that's a great advancement.
And it's one that interests you.
100%. No, and I happen to know the new head of the Canadian Medical Association personally. I got introduced to him at a conference that I was just at for technology, and it's an incredible individual out of Alberta. He lives in Red Deer, and it's just unbelievable how knowledgeable this person is, how intriguing, because the way that this person analyzes what advancements have to be made in the industry, and how the medical association has to start allowing, and this is what the reform is going to be, the medical association, Frank, that because of this leadership. The first question I asked of the new head of the medical association when I met him was, what about foreign trained practitioners that come to Canada that have to go through reevaluation because of the restrictions of the association? So what he said was to me very simple. He said, a doctor is a doctor no matter where they are. The only thing that should be administered is an exam to see if they know what they say they know. They should be allowed to work because they would reinforce what we have already established in Canada. And if they won't have to go through to take the courses all over again.
His mother just called me. His mother just called me, Eduardo, and she said, "Say my son's name." I'm just kidding, but we'll say his name. His name is Dr. Alika Fontaine. LaFontaine. Carry on.
So it's interesting because Dr. LaFontaine is trying to incorporate now. He's looking at the idea of bringing all, not just the Indigenous indigenous doctors into the mainstream, but also the foreign trained practitioners. So we will have more doctors. We won't have these wonderful delays at hospitals because of lack of doctors. That want, the foreign trained practitioners want to get on the road to help people. And this
Well,
is
let me add this, and in what you're saying, we can assume and hope the tests that you're referring to. First of all, they must have some sort of license they picked up wherever they were, so they
Mhm.
take that license, and they do it. The government can do a little bit of research just to make sure that these licenses are legit. And then, like you say, that's something that shouldn't be that difficult to do. Where these doctors, they basically have to do a test, and then they got to go through the same principle that other doctors do that are trained here, and they go into a hospital and assist until the people who are his supervisors can be assured that these doctors have the ability. So you kind of, it sounds unfair, but you kind of fast track them, right, Eduardo, so that they can get into the system and help our system, which is what we need. You can't have too many doctors.
Correct. The second story that you were talking about is the second story with regards to the new judge appointed. Uh, Also, a tremendous appointment by Justin Trudeau. I think people will look at it as, oh, you are trying to help your party become stronger because as long as you appoint a judge to the Supreme Court, they will stay forever, and it will be a liberal in there. It's not about a
No.
liberal or a conservative. It's about making things right with our indigenous community that hasn't had the chance to place somebody into the rightful positions. And I applaud Mr. PM, Pierre, Justin Trudeau, our prime minister, in this endeavor, because he has done something right. I am not a supporter of Trudeau at all, in the idea of what he has done through his period, but this has been something that should have been done a long time ago, uh, because until now we have had people of many cultures go in, but our own Aboriginals who have been here uh, have not had that chance.
Well, it goes without saying that representation is the best form of inclusion. So if you know we can argue, people can argue about whether she's qualified or not. There's always going to be that question. But where we are at this point in Canada and in the world, in fact, is that minorities that have not been treated fairly, clearly, without doubt, have not been treated fairly, get the opportunity to be represented within the system so that they are part of the check and balance of ensuring that people's rights, are ensured, enshrined, and checked as we move along. So having somebody of indigenous background in the highest court creates a situation where the highest court has somebody on it who appreciates the circumstances and situations that she's more than well aware of. So to me, that's a great thing. I think it's fantastic that she's in there. Let's hope that if she isn't as qualified as maybe others may have been, let's hope that her qualification grows while she's there. It wouldn't be the first time that somebody learns what they're doing while they're doing it. Now, again, it's a organization. It's not just her. She's not working by herself. She's working within a group, right, Eduardo? So, it's not a case of whatever she does now is going to impact on the
No,
court.
that's why
You
it's
know,
called the Supreme Court of Canada. The Supreme Court of
exactly.
Canada
And there's
still
more
is
than one there. So
it's 8 individuals that sit on the court, and they make decisions that are of great involvement, of great significance to the legal system of Canada. And they can overturn different rulings. They can do whatever. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
and to have an indigenous voice Aboriginal voice in that court signifies a great advancement in the inclusion of our Aboriginals in the Canadian society.
So let's quickly talk about Nazem Kadri. We both like to talk about sports. This show does include a lot of sports. So Nazem Kadri is doing something that I think is great. He's going to actually. I'm looking here. He's going to have a parade that goes from 12:05, starts at 12:05 at Victoria Park, and at 12:46. It begins at the London Muslim Mosque, and it goes eastward on down Oxford to Richmond Street, ending at Victoria Park with a ceremony. This all sounds like it could be happening in Toronto with the names of the places, but please be clear. This is in London, and that's where he's from, and it's great that he's bringing it home. I don't know if he'll bring it to Toronto. I mean, rub it in the noses of Leaf fans.
Nazem Kadri is one of those players that I really liked, and it's interesting that every player that leaves Toronto happens to win a Grey Cup or sometime, a Stanley Cup sometime along, and this time it happened to be that Nazem Kadri and Colorado did the job. And although Nazem is no longer with the Colorado Avalanche and he's in Calgary now, it's going to be interesting.
Switch.
And respectfully to Nazem Kadri, every penny that the Calgary Flames paid is justified, because he proved he had his bad problems in Toronto in the playoffs, give it, but he was still a great hockey player, no matter what anyone can say.
Well, I think he let his passion for the game, the team, his teammates get the better of him from time to time. And I don't know if he's actually learned his lesson, Eduardo, but, the guy's won a Stanley Cup, and that's what every player dreams about. So he's had his dream come true, and now he's going to be playing for a Canadian team in Calgary. And he's a proud Canadian as well.
And he might just win another Stanley Cup, because the Calgary Flames are built with strength.
Yeah, well, they're a team that they have a lot of talent on that team. They lost a bit, but some might suggest that the character level of Nazem Kadri, I think, rises above a couple of the players that they lost, as far as we can tell from the outside. Okay. Eduardo, thanks for doing this.
I appreciate it, Frank. Looking forward to doing it again sometime.
He's Eduardo Harari. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank live here on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.